I got it on the wrong. I'm in different ear from what you usually use, but somehow with my left ear being um, kind of deaf, I just put it on right ear for some reason. Eli texted me yesterday and asked me if I would share because he said he and Barbara would be gone, and David's not well, and he wasn't sure if he'd be back in time and feeling well enough to do it. So I said, well, I kind of teach Sunday school, and I saw it. He read it, and nothing. So I waited a little bit. Then I said, I guess I could text Darwin and have him teach for me. And then he texts back, thank you very much. So that's why I'm up here this morning. As I was, this was happening late Friday night, and I had to work Saturday. So I was thinking, I feel bad sometimes for preachers that have a short time to get ready, but they're kind of used to it, I think. And I said, well, I will see what I can come up with. And then I thought about something, a person in the Bible that I've been thinking about for some time, well-known Bible story, but a children's story. And I'd like to touch on his life. And then I thought, well, how much do you read? How much do I read? How many chapters do I read to get the whole story? Because you read chapter after chapter, and you run out of time. But the man I want to speak about is Balaam. Very familiar to all the children. It's found in Numbers 22. We'll start reading in Numbers 22, read 22, 23, and 24, I think. I try not to keep you too long with all this reading and so on, but what was happening in this time was that the children of Israel were taking possession of well, I don't know how they were. It says they took over the cities that they conquered, but the reason they were fighting was because that people were attacking, nations were attacking them, and so they would fight back and they would destroy the nations, and then they would live in their cities. And the last one here, within chapter 21, was the King Og, and it says that verse 34 of 21 says, "The Lord said unto Moses, Fear him not, for I have delivered him into thy hand, and all his people and his land, and thou shalt do to him as thou didst unto Sihon, king of the Amorites, which dwelled in Heshbon." So they smote him, King Og, and his sons, and all his people, until there was none left of him alive, and they possessed his land. So this is what was happening when, just before this happening with Balaam. And he says in verse 22, "The children of Israel set forward and pitched in the plains of Moab on this side of Jordan by Jericho. And Balak, the son of Zippor, saw all that Israel had done to the Amorites, and Moab was afraid." So he saw the destruction they had brought on the other people. Here they come into his kingdom, and what does he expect to happen? But he gets destroyed as well. Now, who were the Moabites? They were the descendants of Moab, who was the son of Lot and his oldest daughter. Remember, after the story of Lot, when they left Sodom or Gomorrah, I'm not sure which city they lived in, and God destroyed the cities, and Lot's wife looked back, and she was turned into a pillar of salt, and there was just Lot and his two daughters. They went on, and his daughters were afraid of what was going to happen. They'd ended up doing some weird things, and he had a son by his oldest daughter. It was Moab, the father of the Moabites, and then he had a son by his younger daughter. I think his name might have been Ammon, and he was his name was Ammon, and he was the father of the Ammonites. Two peoples that were contrary to the Jews. If they had just behaved themselves, that would have saved a lot of trouble later on. But let's go and read and what happened, of course, was that the king of Moabite, the Moabite king, was afraid of what was going to happen to him, so he sends for Balaam to curse these people. Let's read Numbers 22, starting reading verse 1. "And the children of Israel set forward and pitched in the plains of Moab on this side of Jordan by Jericho. And Balak the son of Zippor saw all that Israel had done to the Amorites," not the Ammonites, but the Amorites. "And Moab was sore afraid of the people, because they were many, and Moab was distressed because of the children of Israel. And Moab said unto the elders of Midian, Now shall this company lick up all that are around about us, as an ox licketh up the grass of the field. And Balak the son of Zippor was king of the Moabites at this time. He sent messengers therefore unto Balaam, the son of Beor, to Pethor, which was by the river of the land of the children of his people, to call him, saying, Behold, there is a people come up out of Egypt. Behold, they cover the face of the earth, and they abide over against me. Come now, therefore, I pray thee, curse me this people, for they are too mighty for me. If peradventure I shall prevail, that we may smite them, and that I may drive them out of the land. For I wot that he whom thou blessed is blessed, and he whom thou cursest is cursed. And the elders of Moab and the elders of Midian departed with the rewards of divination in their hand. And they came to Balaam and spoke unto him the word of Balak. And he said unto them, Lodge here this night, and I will bring you word again, as the Lord shall speak unto me. And the prince of Moab abode with Balaam. And God came to Balaam and said, What men are these with thee? And Balaam said unto God, Balak the son of Zippor, king of of Moab, hath sent unto me, saying, Behold, there is a people come up out of Egypt, which covereth the face of the earth. Come now, curse me them, peradventure I shall be able to overcome them, and drive them out. And God said to Balaam, Thou shalt not go with them. Thou shalt not curse the people, for they are blessed. And Balaam rose up early in the morning and said unto the princes of Balak, Get you unto your land, for the Lord refuses to give me leave to go with you. And the princes of Moab rose up, and they went unto Balak, and said, Balaam refuses to come with us. And Balak sent yet another, again princes more and more honorable than they. And they came to Balaam and said unto him, Thus saith Balak the son of Zippor, Let nothing, I pray thee, hinder thee from coming unto me, for I will promote thee unto very great honor. I will do whatsoever thou sayest unto me. Come therefore, I pray thee, curse me this people. And Balaam answered and said unto the servants of Balak, If Balak shall give me his house full of silver and gold, I cannot go beyond the word of the Lord my God to do less or more. Now therefore I pray thee, tarry ye also this night, that I may know what the Lord shall say unto me more. And God came unto Balaam that night and said unto him, If the men come to call thee, rise up and go with them, but yet the word which I shall say unto thee, that shalt thou do. And Balaam rose up in the morning and saddled his ass and went with the princes of Moab. And God's anger was kindled because he went, and the angel of the Lord stood in the way for an adversary against him. Now he was riding upon his ass, and his two servants were with him. And the ass saw the angel of the Lord standing in the way, and his sword drawn in his hand. And the ass turned aside out of the way, and went into the field. And Balaam smote the ass to turn in the way. But the angel of the Lord stood in the path of the vineyards, and a wall being on this side, and a wall on that side. And when the ass saw the angel of the Lord, she thrust herself into the wall, and crushed Balaam's foot against the wall, and he smote her again. And the angel of the Lord went farther, and stood into a narrow place where there was no way to turn, either to the right or to the left. And when the ass saw the angel of the Lord, she fell down under Balaam, and Balaam's anger was kindled, and he smote the ass with his staff. And the Lord opened the mouth of the ass, and she said unto Balaam, What have I done unto thee, that thou smitest me these 3 times? And Balaam said unto the ass, Behold, because thou hast mocked me, I would there were a sword in my hand, for now I would kill thee. And the ass said unto Balaam, Am I not thine ass, upon which thou hast ridden ever since I was thine unto this day? Was I ever wont to do so unto thee? And he said, Nay. Then the Lord opened the eyes of Balaam, and he saw the angel of the Lord standing in the way, his sword drawn in his hand, and he bowed his head and fell flat on his face. And the angel of the Lord said unto him, Behold, the people shall rise up as a great lion. Wait a minute, I switched to the missed a page. Wherefore hast thou smitten thine ass these 3 times? Behold, I went out to withstand thee, because thy way is perverse before me. And the ass saw me and turned from me these 3 times. Unless she had turned from me, surely now I had slain thee and saved her alive. And Balaam said unto the angel of the Lord, I have sinned, for I knew not that thou stoodest in the way against me. Now therefore, if it displease thee, I will get me back again. And the angel of the Lord said unto Balaam, Go with the men, but only the word that I shall speak unto thee, that shalt thou speak. So Balaam went with the princes of Balak. And when Balak heard that Balaam was come, he went out to meet him into a city of Moab, which is in the border of Arnon, which is the uttermost coast. And Balak said unto Balaam, Did I not earnestly send unto thee to call thee? Wherefore camest thou not unto me? Am I not able to promote thee in honor? And Balaam said unto Balak, Lo, I am come unto thee. Have I now any power at all to say anything? The word that God putteth in my mouth, that shall I speak. And Balaam went with Balak, and they came unto Kirjath-Huzah. And Balak offered oxen and sheep, and sent to Balaam and to the princes that were with him. And it came to pass on the morrow that Balak took Balaam, and brought him up into the high places of Baal, and thence he might see the uttermost parts of the people, speaking of Israel. And Balaam said unto Balak, Build me here 7 altars, and prepare me here 7 oxen and 7 rams. And Balak did as Balaam had spoken, And Balak and Balaam offered on every altar a bullock and a ram. And Balaam said unto Balak, Stand by the burnt offering, and I will go. Peradventure the Lord will come to meet me, and whatsoever he sheweth me, I will tell thee. And he went to a high place. And God met Balaam. He said unto him, I have prepared 7 altars. I have offered upon every altar a bullock and a ram. And the Lord put a word into Balaam's mouth, and said, Return unto Balak, and thus thou shalt speak. And he returned unto him, and he stood by his burnt offering sacrifice, he and all the princes of Moab. And he, Balaam, took up his parable and said, Balak the king of Moab hath brought me from Aram, out of the mountains of the east, saying, Come curse me, Jacob, and come defy Israel. How shall I curse whom God hath not cursed? Or how shall I defy whom the Lord hath not defied? For from the top of the rocks I see him, and from the hills I behold him. Lo, the people shall dwell alone, and shall not be reckoned among the nations. Who can count the dust of Jacob, and the number of the fourth part of Israel? Let me die the death of the righteous, and let my last end be like his. And Balak said to Balaam, What hast thou done to me? I told thee to curse thine enemies, and behold, thou hast blessed him altogether. And he answered and said, Must I not take heed and speak that which the Lord hath put in my mouth? And Balak said, Come, I pray thee, with me unto another place from whence thou mayest see them. Thou shalt not see but the utmost part of them, and shalt not see them all, and curse me them from thence. And he brought him into the field of Zophim, to the top of Pisgah, and built 7 altars, and offered a bullock and a ram on every altar. And he said to Balak, Stand here by thy burnt offering, while I meet the Lord yonder. And the Lord met Balaam, and put a word in his mouth, and said, Go again to Balak, and say thus. And when he was come to him, behold, he stood by his burnt offering, and the prince of Moab with him. And Balak said unto him, What hath the Lord spoken? And he took up his parable, and said, Rise up, Balak, and hear and hearken unto me, thou son of Zippor. God is not a man that he should lie, neither the son of man that he should repent. Hath he said, and shall he not do it? Or hath he spoken, shall he not make it good? Behold, I have received commandments to bless, and he hath blessed, and I cannot reverse it. He hath not beheld iniquity in Jacob, neither hath he seen perverseness in Israel. The Lord his God is with him, and the shout of the king is among them. God brought them out of Egypt. He hath, as it were, the strength of a unicorn. Surely there is no enchantment against Jacob, neither is there any divination against Israel. According to this time it shall be said of Jacob and of Israel, What hath God wrought? Behold, the people shall rise up as a great lion, and lift himself up as a young lion. He shall not lie down until he hath eaten of his prey, and drink the blood of his slain. And Balak said unto Balaam, Neither curse him at all, or bless him at all. But Balaam answered and said to Balak, Told I not thee, saying, All the Lord speaketh that I must do? And Balak said unto Balaam, Come, I pray thee, I will bring thee unto another place. Peradventure it will please God that thou mayest curse me them from thence. And Balak brought Balaam unto the top of Peor, and he looked towards Jeshimon. And Balaam said unto Balak, Build me here 7 altars, and prepare me here 7 bullocks and 7 rams. And Balak did as Balaam had said, and offered a bullock and a ram on every altar. And when Balaam saw that it pleased the Lord to bless Israel, he went not, as at other times, to seek for enchantments, but he set his face towards the wilderness. And Balaam lifted up his eyes, and he saw Israel abiding in his tents, according to their tribes, and the Spirit of God came upon him. And he took up his parable, and said, Balaam the son of Beor hath said, and a man whose eyes are open hath said, he hath said, which heard the words of God, which saw the vision of the Almighty, falling upon a trance, and having his eyes open. How goodly are thy tents, O Jacob, and thy tabernacles, O Israel! As the valleys are they spread forth, as gardens by the riverside, as the tree of line aloes, which the Lord hath planted, and as the cedar beside the waters. He shall pour the water out of his buckets, his seed shall be in many waters. His king shall be higher than Agag, and his kingdom shall be exalted. God brought him forth out of Egypt. He hath, as it were, the strength of a unicorn. He shall eat up the nations of his enemies. He shall break their bones, and pierce them through with his arrows. He couched, he lay down as a lion, as a great lion. Who shall stir him up? Blessed is he that blessed thee, and cursed is he that cursed thee. And Balak's anger was kindled against Balaam. He smote his hands together, And Balak said unto Balaam, I called thee to curse mine enemies, and behold, thou hast altogether blessed them these 3 times. Therefore now, flee thou to thy place. I thought to promote thee into great honor, but lo, the Lord hath kept thee back from honor. And Balaam said unto Balak, Spake I not always also to thy messengers which thou sendest to me, saying, If Balak should give me his house full of silver and gold, I cannot go beyond the commandment of the Lord to do either good or bad of mine own mind. But what the Lord saith, that will I speak. And now, behold, I go unto my people. Come therefore, I will advertise thee what this people shall do to thy people in the latter days. And he took up his parable and said, Balaam the son of Beor hath said, the man whose eyes are open hath said, he hath said that which heard the words of the Lord of God, and knew the knowledge of the Most High, which saw the vision of the Almighty, falling in a trance, but having his eyes open. I shall see him, but not now. I shall behold him, but not nigh. There shall come a star out of Jacob, a scepter shall rise out of Israel, shall smite the corners of Moab, and destroy all the children of Sheth. And Edom shall be a possession. Seir also shall be a possession for his enemies, and Israel shall do valiantly. Out of Jacob shall come he that shall have dominion, and shall destroy him that remaineth of the city. And when he looked at Amalek, he took up his parable and said, Amalek was the first of the nations, but his latter end shall be that he perish forever. He looked to the Kenites and took up his parable and said, Strong is thy dwelling place, and thou puttest thy nest in a rock. Nevertheless, the Kenites shall be wasted, and Asher shall carry thee away captive. And he took up his parable and said, Alas also, who shall live when God doeth this? And ships shall come out of Shittim, and shall afflict Asher, and shall afflict Eber, and he shall perish forever. And Balaam rose up and went and returned to his place, and Balak went also in his way. It's a long reading. Took at least 15 minutes, maybe more. But as we think about the story of Balaam, and usually when with the children's stories, it's pretty much condensed. We find that Balaam, there's always been a question in my mind, who was Balaam? Did he actually believe in God? He was called a soothsayer. Did he actually believe in God? And he does say that I can only speak what the Lord my God says for me to say. So I think he was actually following God. I don't think it was a coincidence that when he went to find out what God wanted him to say, that it was actually God that came to him. Because I think there was a communication there between God and Balaam. These people came to Balaam and offered him great wealth if he comes to curse these people. And he said, well, stay overnight, and I'll find out tonight what God wants me to, whether he wants me to go. And who these people were, he absolutely knew. He knew exactly, but he wanted Balaam to tell him what was going on, see what was in Balaam's mind. He wanted him he would say, well, who are these men? And God's answer was pretty clear and final. He said, you will not go with them. You will not curse them. They are blessed. So he gets up the next morning early, and he tells the men, I can't go with you. The Lord denies me to go with you. So they go back to Balak. And Balak said, well, he takes and sends more people, more honorable people, more riches. He promised him great honor and standing in the people if he would come and curse them. And so when the people came to Balaam, instead of saying, I already know what God wants, I can't do it, he says, well, go ahead and stay overnight and let's see what happens. And God comes to Balaam and says, go ahead and go with him in the morning. And so he goes. I often wonder, why did God tell him to do that? Go with them in the morning. It was not his will that he went. And in fact, the angel was so upset, he sent an angel to make that point. And I think to myself, we as Christians can be that way sometimes. Recently, my siblings, my family, my dad's children like to get together once a month for supper together so we don't lose contact with each other and kind of keep things open and together. Anyway, the last time we were together, Nelson made a comment that to him, it's pretty simple. If the Bible says something, it's settled. You don't question it. And I think a lot of Christians today are doing like Balaam. Well, let's go see what God says. I remember years ago, Dad had a sister and a brother-in-law who got involved in what they call the Grady Kent movement. And that's long. I never hear anybody talking about that anymore. But I won't even describe it. It was pretty interesting. But they were people that were not from the Anabaptist background. They had this strange belief. And Grady Kent was supposed to be the new Christ, the new Jesus. He's never supposed to die. But that's not really the point of my bringing this up. When they went there, when they left our church, Dad told his sister Mary, said, you better be careful. You know that the Bible teaches that you should wear the head covering. She said, oh yeah, that's plain. I'll never stop wearing it. Dad said, well, you're going in a dangerous place when other people don't believe that. You'll start to question it, and then you'll say, wow, it's not necessary. She said, no, I'll always wear it. So a few years passed, and she comes around to visit, and here she's got cut hair and no head covering. So Dad said, Mary, what happened? And she said, well, I'm with people that don't wear the head covering, and they're rejoicing, they're serving the Lord, and I decided to ask God if it's really necessary. And he revealed to me it's not. Okay. It was very plain. But she goes and asks, and we see that happening. And there's other areas of our life we can do that, where we've been taught a way that is scripturally based. Now, I'm not promoting at all saying that you have to be a part of an Anabaptist group to get to heaven, because I don't believe that. But I think there are certain teachings of the Bible that are biblical that we hold on to. There's things about marriage. There's things about non-resistance and head covering. There's just a bunch of things like that people start to question. And so the question to me is, who actually answers that question and says it's no longer necessary? Is it God that's saying that? Is he giving them over to strong delusions? Balaam knew better, because God made it very clear, you will not go with them, you will not curse them. They are blessed. But he went anyway. And then he has this very interesting episode with the donkey, where he's riding along, and all of a sudden the donkey veers out into a field. And he takes him. He's got his staff, apparently. I don't know how he's carrying it. But he's got his staff, because he said he beat him later with the staff when he was on the ground. And he beats him back into the road. And the donkey goes plodding along. And pretty soon they come to this narrow spot where there's plenty of room to get through, but there's a wall on the east side. And Balaam is completely oblivious to what's going on. And the donkey all of a sudden veers to the side and smashes his foot up against the wall, scrapes along the wall as he goes by. And he gets really angry, and he whacks his donkey. And then they come to a place where it's so tight. The angel goes up to a place where it's so tight that it's only room for one. He can't pass the angel. So the donkey falls on the ground, just flops down on the ground, and makes Balaam so angry that he goes to beating on him with a rod or his staff. And then the strange thing about it, he's so upset that he doesn't even seem to think it's strange that donkey's talking to him. Donkey's, asking questions, and he answers the questions. He has a conversation with a donkey, for goodness sakes, and it's like it's normal. And the donkey asked him, he said, have I ever done this before? And he said, no, you haven't. And then God opened Balaam's eyes, and he saw the angel with the sword. Then he has a conversation with the angel. And the angel said that your way is perverse. In other words, God didn't want you out here. Even though he said go, he didn't want you out here. And he said, that's why I came out here. He said, the donkey actually saved your life. I would have killed you. But your life is saved. And of course, Balaam was all apologetic, and he said, I'll go back. If this displeases you, I'll go back home. And the angel says, no, go ahead, but make sure you say only that which I tell you to say. So he goes on, and he comes to the land of the Moabites, and Balak meets him, and he chides him for not coming. And he said, well, I can't go, I can't say anything but what the Lord allows me to do. So that evening, the first evening he was there, Balak, the king of Moab, sacrificed. Apparently, this is just was this maybe from Lot coming down through the teaching, like the Jews with Abraham? Was a Lot teaching about sacrificing? I don't know. But he sacrificed that night, not to God, of course, to Baal, apparently. And he sent portions of it to Balaam and to the ones with him to eat. And then the next morning early, he went to meet, and they went to do this thing or see what happens when they go out there. Backing up a little bit, I forgot to make a point on Balaam and his donkey issue. Why was Balaam so preoccupied with what he was doing that he couldn't observe what was happening? And then even when the donkey talked to him, it seemed normal in a sense to him. And I wondered, do we as Christians sometimes get so preoccupied with life, or we get so preoccupied, or preoccupied, probably the best word for it, that we don't really hear the voice of God sometimes, or things happen in our life that God's trying to speak to us, and it goes over our head because we're preoccupied. And that's a challenge for myself as I think about that as I go through life, that I'm as he says later, I might have my eyes wide open to see what God has for me in my life, or to observe things and notice things that God might be trying to speak to me. Now, when the donkey asked him, have you ever done this before? He said, no, you haven't. Okay, when he did the first time, Balaam should have thought, why did he do that? When he did the second time, Balaam should have really been taking note. What's going on? Asking the question, what's going on? And when he finally just went and flopped down on the ground and left him without a ride, then he should have seriously thought there's something really strange going on. Instead of that, he gets really angry and started beating on it. So I wonder, in our own lives, sometimes when God is trying to speak to us, are we a little bit that way as well? We can be. Hopefully, we won't be. I trust that we'll try not to be. That God can speak to us. So they go there, and 3 times, they at 3 different places, Balak. I keep trying to call him Barak. Then I want to say Balak had to make 7 altars. I'm not sure why the 7, but I think there was a good reason for it. And then he would go and he'd ask God what to say, and then God would tell him what to say. And it would make Balak very upset. And finally he said, hey, if you're not going to curse them, for goodness sakes, don't bless them. Basically what he said. And by the 3rd time, he would say, well, let's go to a different place. Maybe God will let you curse them from there. Balaam should have said, it's not going to happen. But okay, let's go to this place. Anyway, so they would go to the 3rd, when they finally got to the 3rd place, and Balaam realized God was not going to curse them. He didn't go looking for divinations or an answer from God. He just went in and stood where he could see the children of Israel, all their tents and the way they were set up. And the Spirit of God came onto him, and he began to speak and bless the children of Israel again. And it made Balak so angry that he clapped his hands and said, "Stop. This is not working." Balak said unto Balaam, "What hast thou done unto me? Oh, Balak's anger was kindled against Balaam. He smote his hands together, and Balak said unto Balaam, I called thee to curse mine enemy. Behold, thou hast altogether blessed him these 3 times. Now therefore flee into thy place. I thought to promote thee into great honor, but lo," and look at this amazed me. He didn't blame Balaam at all. He says, "I thought to promote thee to great honor, but lo, the Lord hath kept thee back from honor." He recognized that he was speaking from God. He didn't blame Balaam. If he would have blamed Balaam, he'd probably killed him. But he told Balaam to go to your place. And then Balaam said, "You know what? Before I go, I want to tell you what's going to happen. What's going to happen between you and the Israelites in the latter day." And then he talked about it. And he said how the Israelites were going to destroy them. And he said about several other nations that they were going to destroy. And then he says that, how did he say? He went back to his place, and Balaam rose up and went and returned to his place, and Balak also went his way. So if you look at this, you think Balaam made some few mistakes here, common mistakes that we as Christians make today, where he when they first came to him, he did the right thing. He went to God and he asked, as we faced by a strange situation would do as well. When God told him absolutely not, and then it happened the second time, he should have said absolutely not, but he didn't. He made a mistake of asking God, and God said go, but it displeased God. And then he comes here to the end of it, and from then on, he does exactly what God tells him to do. And then at the end of it, he goes home, Balak goes home. So why did God tell the people of Israel, children of Israel, to make sure that they killed Balaam for what he'd done here? It doesn't record it. And we say like, oh, that'd be nice to know. What did he do? If you look at the next chapter, you find that the children of Israel are starting to intermingle with Moabites. They're invited over for games, so to speak. They're invited over to partake in their sacrifices. They're invited over to partake of their women. And God was very angry with the children of Israel. And he killed a bunch of them by, I'm not sure, I don't remember exactly how. He was very upset with them. And while they were talking about it, just right out in the plain sight, one of the Israelites took a Moabite woman into his tent, just like it was the thing to do, like nobody would care. And Aaron's son took a spear and went over to the tent and drove it through both of them and killed them both. And God had to severely punish the people of Israel because of what they were doing here. Well, now if you there's different places where he speaks about Balaam. The clearest place where he talks about what happened was in Revelation 2:14. He was talking to the different churches and says what he doesn't like about them or what they're doing that he doesn't appreciate. To the angel of the church in Pergamos write, These things saith he that hath a sharp sword with 2 edges. I know thy works, and where thou dwellest, even where Satan's seat is. And thou holdest fast my name, and hast not denied my faith, even in those days when Antipas, my faithful martyr, who was slain among you, where Satan dwelleth. But I have a few things against thee, because thou hast there them that hold the doctrine of Balaam, who taught Balak to cast a stumbling block before the children of Israel, to eat things sacrificed to idols, and to commit fornication. God, that was God's word himself, that he was talking to this church of Pergamos, talking about what Balaam had done, that he deserved death for. And what he had done, after all this he had done for God, was it greed? Was it the wish to become rich and wealthy? Did Balak say, if you can give me, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm getting destroyed by these people, apparently. Give me some advice. What shall I do? Well, it doesn't say what happened. But Balaam gave him some advice. And it was to get them involved in the sacrificing to idols and get them involved in fornication. And that's exactly what happened. And many of the children of Israel were killed because of it, were slain. God had to get rid of them. And then later on, you'll read how that just a few chapters later, this is Numbers 22, 23, 24, chapter 31. He talks about how they destroyed the people of the Moabites. And they brought, I can't remember what they were told. I didn't read that part. What they were told about how they were supposed to go in there. But they came back with the children and the women. Was it Moses? I think Moses was still leader here. I'm not sure. He was very upset and angry over it. I could check and find out. Anyway, he said, what are you doing bringing the women? They are the cause of what happened here. They're the cause of this fornication thing, where so many of you were killed. Why in the world are you bringing them back with you? And I can imagine in my mind, there was probably a bunch of soldiers that recognized the women they had met over there when they were doing some of this stuff. And would say, hey, come back with me. Well, they were Moses or Joshua, whoever it was. I think it was Moses, having none of that. He said, kill all the women that had any kind of relations with a man. You get rid of them. You can keep the younger girls and the children, but the women have to be killed because they were part of this sin that was brought upon the people of Israel. And God had also told them that Balaam, the son of Beor, was to be killed because of his part in it. But, in years past, as I read the story of Balaam, I was like, it doesn't seem like he was really treated very fairly. He's kind of a normal person that, the people came, wanted him to do something, and he said, I'll ask God. And God said, nope, not at all. So he come back the second time, and he said, well, I'll go ask God. And God says, go. So why not go? Because he knew better. After God said what he did the first time, he knew he was not going to curse them if he follows God's. So the challenge, as I said before, is to, when God says it, believe it. And then as they came to the end of this saga, the end of this thing where he 3 times he blessed the people of Israel, and then he says, I'll tell you what's going to happen later on. And he says all that, and then he says they departed and went to their homes. Somewhere in there was some kind of conversation, like I said earlier, and that Balaam gave him some advice that was not good. And I thought about how that we sometimes, and this was probably, I doubt whether he had that much empathy for Balak. Maybe he did, but it was probably about the money, because according to, I think it's the book of Jude, it was wealth that caused him to do some of the things he did, the desire for wealth. But then I thought about ourselves, as different times in my past, I have met with people, Christian people, professing Christians, and seemed devout Christians. One in particular I think about that just loved our church, wanted to join here. But he was divorced and remarried, and his wife was with him. And he wanted us to make an allowance for him to be a part of our group. He said, I know that was sin, but I've been forgiven. We've been forgiven. And part of me wanted to say, we should, I think, good Christian people. I mean, it's a shame not to have them here to worship with us, and they could really be helped here. And is there some way we can get around this? And that's a temptation, and I think that's some of the things we have to be careful about, making allowances, or people that we meet that want to do the right thing, but don't want to do the whole thing that's right. How do we relate with that? Let's not be like Balaam that gives them bad advice, because that ended up being not only bad advice, but having seriously bad results. Any of you have a question or a thought on this before we close?